welcome to the Flame and Fiber podcast. My name is Barbara. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Diva S. As Chevy Rail says, it has been a minute. My last podcast was on October 10th. So I gotta find my place because I didn't make notes. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope everyone is well throughout this whole horrible pandemic. And keeping safe. So crazy. I have continued to do my vlog. Right now I'm in Corona Vlogmas, which I realized this morning really is no different than, I'm going to see if I can sit back. Oh, wait, I'm going to show you my sweater. Is really no different than my Corona vlog, only I have Christmas decorations in the background. And since I keep my decorations up for a very long time, it's going to be Vlogmas for a very long time on my Corona vlog. So anyway, I will put a link below to, well, actually, if you found me, my vlog is, you know, all my other videos I have today, I think, was number 247. So we've been vlogging for a very long time. So please join us if you have any interest. I just talk in the mornings and open my advents. I have 5 advents this year. I have 2 Devere yarn embroidery floss advents, a silk and a wool. I got the L'Occitane advent, which has all kinds of L'Occitane products, which is fun. Creams and salt soaps, and I got verbena shower gel today. So that's fun. I bought the Crafty Toads yarn advent calendar, and I'm enjoying that a lot. The ladies are very talented. And once again, Megan and I have exchanged advents. Megan is my friend in New Zealand, and we were by chance paired up for an advent. I think it was the Crafty Toads that sponsored sort of an advent swap kind of an event 4 years ago. And Megan was my partner, and we swapped, and we've been swapping ever since and become friends, and it's really been lovely. So I made her an advent calendar, and she made me one, and mine, the one I have gotten, has been really amazing. The yarns have been yarns that she dyed, and she has given me 9 New Zealand ornaments for my tree. I actually have a Christmas tree this year, and it is beautifully decorated by Megan, and it's so much fun. So I show all those on the vlog, so if you're interested in my advents, check out the vlog, the Corona Vlogmas. I generally open my advents first, so if you don't want to hear me doing a lot of talking, you can just check out the advent goodies that I'm getting, and they're really lovely. For my advent project, I'm doing a cowl. The lovely Linda gave me Helen Stewart's knit vent this year, and her first project was a 24 mini cowl, and that's what I'm doing for my advent project. So thank you again, Linda. That was so sweet of you. Kathleen gave me the gnome advent, Adventure Gnome, which I have not started yet, but I do intend to do. But right now I've been very, very busy. I've been knitting Christmas presents, and I sewed a present, and I'm making my Christmas cards. So I'm going to be busy for the next, well, the presents are all done, and they will be going out in the mail tomorrow. That's my plan. But I do have some Christmas cards to make to go with them, so keep your fingers crossed. I'm hoping that will actually happen. And then I have to make more Christmas cards, and get them in the mail, because those are a timed thing. But once the cards are out, then I'm done. then I'm done with all my obligation work, which is not work, which is fun. I mean, obviously I didn't have to make Christmas cards. I even bought backup cards in case I decide not to make very many Christmas cards. But I've been watching Christmas card making videos and enjoying them very much. So I plan on making my cards. But once that's all done, I think I will be adding the gnome in and catching up with the gnome advent. The way that one works is that you get a new clue every other day. So I'm not super behind. I mean, it's the 9th today, so I've only gotten 4 clues. Well, 5 clues. You get them on the odd days. You get clues on the odd days, and on the even days you get gnomish lore and recipes and things like that. So I do plan to make the gnome also. But, so I've been very crafty for this December, and I'm enjoying it a lot, and I will be showing you lots of stuff that I have made in the 2 months since I talked to you last. First, I want to show you my sweater. Now, this is technically not a finished object because I already showed it as a finished object. I don't even know how many podcasts ago, probably August or September, because I made it this summer, and I made this cardigan from an Amy Herzog Craftsy class, which isn't Craftsy anymore, and it's not Blueprint anymore. I don't even know what it is now. I was in a panic that I was going to lose all my classes, and so I decided to take the Amy Herzog class about how to calculate a good fit in a sweater. And so I made a crew neck cardigan from that, and it doesn't really have a name, but I want to show you because I called it a finished finished object, words, because I had done all the knitting, but I hadn't put the buttons in. I just put the buttons in like 2 weeks ago. It got cold, and I'm like, this is ridiculous that I don't have these buttons on. So I put the buttons on. So I want to show you my sweater with the buttons. So I will. There, you get a close-up of the buttons. Aren't they pretty? They're ceramic. And this is my sweater. It fits me great, which was the whole point of the class. It feels like it's got a little bit too much fabric up here, and I'm not sure what the story of that is. But I don't mind it. It's just I only notice it when I'm putting it on to wear for my vlog. Excuse me while I try to get my chair back. So anyway, I changed the pattern in that I added a broken seed stitch panels down the front on the collar, and I have a panel of that down the back. I don't know if you can see it. So I really love this. This was made with wool worsted, and I'm really happy with it, I have to say. So that's what I'm wearing. So it has been a while since I podcast, and a lot has happened in those 2 months. My father-in-law went into a pretty significant decline and then got steeply declined, and he died in the first week of November. So all through October and the beginning of November, we were helping my mother-in-law manage Garland. He was 103. He lived a good long life, and he was ready to go. I can tell you that. But it was hard at the end. He was home, and anyway, it was hard. But I spent nights over with my mother-in-law to help her because she couldn't manage on her own. My mother-in-law's 89. She got hospice help, and about 2.5 weeks before he died, my sister-in-law Vicky came from California. I'm getting teary-eyed again. to help. So she was there. We really needed her. And she was there when he died. So that was, you know, she was very grateful to be able to have been there. And we really needed her help. And he had a lovely service. Sorry. A military funeral. And it was really nice. Hold on. Wow, I haven't cried since the funeral. Anyway, he was ready to go. He had outlived his body and he was ready. But he was 103 and a half almost. So anyway, my mother-in-law is doing great. She had never lived alone a day in her life. Not one day. If you can imagine. My mother's the same, actually. Now, you know, she's never lived alone either. But anyway, so she is doing fabulous. She comes over for dinner a couple of times a week. I go pick her up. She doesn't drive well. She doesn't drive at night anymore. And so I pick her up, you know, 4-ish, 4:30, and bring her over, and we feed her wine and cheese, and Dennis cooks her dinner, and she loves Dennis's dinner. And he builds her a fire, which she also loves. And so we sit and chat for a couple of hours in front of the fire, and then Dennis takes her home. So that's our new routine, and she really loves the fire. And the dogs are getting used to her coming over. I have 2 100-pound dogs. And, you know, it's hard to socialize your dogs during COVID because nobody's allowed to visit you. But she's been over enough that they're starting to be calmer. We have to crate Maisie when she comes in. So Maisie has to be, she's our noodle, our Newfoundland Poodle mix. And she has to be in the crate for 5 or 10 minutes while Aura's there, so that she settles down. And Pearl does okay. She's pretty excited when Aura comes. But anyway, so the dogs are getting used to her coming, and they're getting better and better. And we anticipate a very excited greeting, but not quite so manic in the future. But anyway, she's doing great, and we're here for her, whatever she needs. And she said, I am looking forward to getting up in the morning and doing whatever I want. I've never done that ever. Can you imagine? I did tell, when I was writing that down in my notes, I did tell Dennis that I appreciated that in my married life, I can get up in the morning and do whatever I want. I hadn't really thought about it so clearly before, but it's a big deal. So anyway, she's the boss of herself now, and she's doing very, very well. So anyway, so that's what we were doing for a lot of... And then Thanksgiving came. Dennis made a goose for Thanksgiving, and we had a lovely Thanksgiving, just the 3 of us, me and Dennis and Aura. And then, you know, I've been decorating, and I've been vlogging the whole time. I missed a couple of days of vlogging when things, toward the end. But I'm vlogging every day, so if you want to hear the details of my life, you could check out my vlogs. Anyway. So I do want to remind you that the Craft From Your Stash Make-Along is still going on. I'm hosting that with the wonderful Leslie from the Not Quite Enough Yarn podcast. And in case you're starting something new, the rules are very simple. You had to own the yarn or fiber in 2019, and you had to start the project this year. December 31st ends this make-along. I will be giving prizes in my next podcast, because I doubt very much if I'm going to podcast before December 31st, the rate I'm going. I was at about every 3 weeks, and then this was the longest hiatus I've ever had. So Leslie and I both have FO and chatted threads for this craft along, and she and we both are pulling end of the quarter prizes, yarn prizes from the FO thread and pattern prizes from the chatter thread. Now, I don't think, I mean, it's possible that I don't pull a third quarter prize, because we also pull a grand prize at the end of the year, and I may just pull a grand prize. Now, I should have thought about it. I'm not sure what my grand prize will be yet. And I'm very sorry not to give you any advance notice, but it'll be grand. I promise you it will be grand. How's that? I have some shawl kits that I got from Yarn Box Luxe many, many years ago. I haven't knit the shawls, but they're really pretty. So it might be one of those, but it might be something else. I'm not really sure. But in my next podcast, I will draw those prizes. So get your finished objects in the finished object thread, and chatter up. Let people know how you're feeling and what you think of their projects. And if you are, when you post something in the finished objects thread, also post it in the chatter thread, because the finished objects thread is no chatter, so people can't tell you how wonderful your project is. But if you put it in the chatter thread, people can ask you questions and tell you how lovely it is, and, you know, find out, ask you what the yarn is and what you thought of it and whatever. So, Stash Mail, I'll put it down here, Stash Mail 2020, coming to an end. 2020's coming to an end, and good riddance. OMG, I am so ready for 2020 to be gone. What a year. All right, I want to sit back, but I don't want to be so far away. So I'll move my chair. Oh, I can move my camera. I'm in a somewhat new situation here, because I got a different tripod that's very tall. And typically in this room, I would be using a small tripod on a platform I have in the corner, but I didn't move the platform, and the tripod's too tall for it. So you're getting a little bit of a different view. So that's what we have been doing. I'm all decorated and feeling good. So I've been knitting. I knit some Christmas presents. I sewed one Christmas present. And I'm making Christmas cards. Well, the lovely Lisa sent me a card that it was a relatively simple card, but it was a red cardstock with a piece of cut out from a book, and her husband had sketched a knitted hat on it, and it was, you know, sort of a simple design, but really lovely. And I'm telling you, I was so inspired. And my friend Linda in Florida has been taking watercolor classes, and she started making watercolor cards. And we talked about that when I talked to her around her birthday. And then she sent one of those beautiful cards to Dennis, a sympathy card. And it was beautiful. So anyway, when I saw Lisa's card that she sent me, I thought, oh, I want to make cards. Now, I had done paper crafting 20 years ago when I was living in the Seattle area, and I had a big bin down in the basement. I say had because it's upstairs in the Messing up the space now because I've been working on it. So anyway, I'm making cards. And I'm enjoying that. So I got to get my cards made. At least a couple of them because I'm mailing presents tomorrow. And I need to include cards in those boxes. That's my plan. So that's what I've been up to. And if you want more details, there are vlogs where I talk ad nauseum. I do understand that a lot of people are not watching daily vlogs. I get that completely. Absolutely, completely. It really is my way of coping. And there are a few of us who are also coping. We're trying to cope. We're coping as best we can. So that's the plan. So anyway, let's see. Is there anything I need to talk about? Well, first of all, I finished Sammi's Christmas present yesterday. And I want to show you because it is the cutest thing you ever saw. My granddaughter Sammi is 4. And I texted her parents and said, do you have any suggestions for Sammi and Isabel for Christmas? And Allison texted me back and said, well, Sammi needs dresses. And Isabel wants a laptop computer and a robot horse. So I'll keep thinking about what you might get, Isabel. I'm like, good. So then I texted back. I said that to myself. I didn't say it to her. And then I texted back and said, what size is Sammi and can she use long sleeve dresses? Because they live in Florida. So she replied, well, she would probably only wear a long sleeve dress for about 3 weeks. So I knew I needed short sleeve dresses. And I'm in southeastern Pennsylvania. It snowed here today a little bit. So I'll confess, I didn't even look in the store because I got a bright idea because I was done with my Christmas knitting. And I thought, I'm a sewer. I sewed dresses for myself, clothes for myself, toys for the kids. I can make her a dress. I can make her a short sleeve dress and won't have to worry about it. So I didn't actually even look in the store. I think there's probably some party dresses and things that are short sleeve in the store here, but I didn't even look. So I went to Joann's and I picked a couple patterns up. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I have Peppa Pig fabric that I had used 2 years ago. I made everybody aprons and pot holders for Christmas. If you've followed me that long, you might remember that well. And I also made a special present for Isabel and Dennis, who she calls Dappy. So Isabel and Dappy got matching aprons because she helps him cook when she's here. And they were Peppa Pig aprons. Well, it turns out I got a ton of that Peppa Pig fabric. Peppa Pig only lasts so long because, Isabel, on our last phone call, I said, talking to Isabel, said, do you want a Peppa Pig mess? Because I made one, although frankly, I can't find it. And she made a face and, she didn't want to tell Nana no, but Allison piped up and said, well, there's someone else who might want one, which gave me some hope that Sammi might still like Peppa Pig. She's 4, so she definitely in the age range, right? Although there's a lot of other stuff going on. Anyway, this is what I made Sammi. I made Sammi a Peppa Pig dress. And I'm really tickled with it. I wish I could find the Peppa Pig mask because I'm not making the mask again. So I'll just not send it. And if I find it, I'll send it later. But anyway, I put rickrack on it. I put rickrack around the neck. It's elasticized around the neck and around the sleeves. I wanted something that she could put on without help. Anyway, and 3 tiers of dress. And I ironed this last night after I finished it, and I thought, oh my God, this was a complete pain in the neck to iron. I hope Allison is happy with, you know, softly, you know, not wrinkly, but just not, you know, not sharp out of the dryer, because otherwise she's going to be really mad at me. Anyway, this is my Sammy's Christmas present. She's getting a Peppa Pig dress that Nana made her, and I hope she likes it. I had fun making it, but I'm not in love with my sewing machine, to be honest with you. And so it was a little frustrating at times, but so that's FO number 1. Sammy has a new dress. FO number 2, I have a giant pile here because it's been a long time. But FO number 2 is not quite so accessible. FO number 2 is the Boxy I was making last time. And that stitch marker marks where I was the last time. This is a bottom-up sweater. So that's where I was the last time I podcast, and I finished it. This is for my niece, Jeannine. This is the Boxy by Hohilo Catelli. And the yarn on this is Crafty Toad's 100% superwash fingering in the colorway Ram Dass. And it turned out so cute. I like a Boxy. I have 2 of them myself. And what happened was, come September-ish, I don't know if my anxiety level went up, you know, whatever it was, I needed something simple and mindless. I call it my twiddle muff. I don't know if you watch Leslie from Not Quite Enough Yarn podcast, sometimes in the early podcasts when she was sitting in her car at one of her ceremonies, she would be knitting twiddle muffs. And they're a muff that has all kinds of things on it. It's very tactile, and buttons and zippers and, you know, all kinds of things. And people with dementia, when they fiddle with this twiddle muff, it calms their minds. And I realized that my knitting Boxys is my version of a twiddle muff. I didn't want to think about it. I just wanted to knit, let my hands move, and it was calming to me. It was a little hypnotic, I guess. And so last podcast I showed you Ella's Boxy, Jeannine's younger sister Ella. I made a green Boxy for her, and I made a purple one for Jeannine. And before I decided to make those Boxys, I asked my daughter if she wanted a Boxy, because I was thinking, you know, if she didn't, I was thinking about making them for the nieces who are her cousins. And she said no, she didn't think she wanted a Boxy, but she thought the girls would really like them. So that's why I started the Boxys. But I think it was maybe around the time I podcast last time, and Kristi said, you know what, I changed my mind. I think I might want a Boxy. Everybody wants a Boxy. I don't know why anybody would not want a Boxy. So I said, great, I'll make you a Boxy. You know, what color do you want? And she said, well, I'd like a speckled Boxy. I saw somebody knit something, it was speckled and it was so cool. I would like a speckled Boxy. I'm like, okay. So I went to my local yarn shop, and which carries like Hedgehog. I thought, you know, Hedgehog has a lot of speckles, but their stock, you know, they only had two skeins of each color, and I didn't find anything that really struck me. They don't carry, obviously, everything that they make. And I couldn't find anything at my local yarn shop. So I have a, you know, sampler dye kit. I've been wanting to dye yarn, And so I decided to make speckled yarn for Kristi's Boxy. So I have bare stroll because my latest granny stripe blanket is a king size blanket, and it has 4 rows of color and then 2 rows of bare stroll. So I bought 10 skeins of bare stroll, and I've only used a couple of them. And so I thought, okay, let me make some, you know, speckled yarn. And I made 5 skeins, and I did it in the microwave, and I wet the yarn and, you know, mortared the yarn or put in citric acid and, you know, kind of squeezed it, speckled it, and then rolled it up like a burrito and put it in the microwave. That's how I did it. And it in no way came out speckled. Hold on, I think I have it right here. I mean, it has some speckles, but this is not what I was going for in terms of speckles. It was like too much. Actually, this is pretty speckled. It just didn't read speckled to me, you know. I like it. I like it a lot, but it came out nothing like I was looking for. I was looking for bare yarn with speckles, and this is what I got. I really like it, which is a good thing because now I have a sweater's quantity of it, which I'm going to make a sweater for myself. So I said, okay, well, and I had seen another video on how to make speckled yarn, and she ended up, well, she wasn't using the microwave. Let's put it to be honest. She was using, you know, yarn in a pan on a stove, and I wasn't doing that. I was putting it in the microwave. But I changed what I did to more mimic what she was doing, and I tried it again. And I finally asked Kristi, you know, what colors are you interested in? And, you know, she says blues and greens would be great. I said, okay, so now my goal was cream colored yarn with blue and green speckles. That's what I was making. This is what I got. It's beautiful yarn, and I'm really happy with it. But it is definitely speckled. But it is in no way cream-based yarn. But this is the Boxy that I made Kristi for Christmas. Now, I didn't have enough stroll left to do a whole Boxy, so I don't know if you can tell. So I had stroll. I did stroll, half stroll and half stroll sparkle or whatever it is. So half of the stripes in here have sparkle and the other half do not. On the camera, you can really kind of see where I striped it because the non-speckle is got a way more green base than the speckled. But I think it looks good, and those stripes are not at all obvious in person. The camera, it's amazing what the camera picks up, or the phone, that you don't see in real life. So that striping of the green to the blue is not obvious in person. But this is the yarn I dyed for Kristi's Boxy. This is her Christmas present. She knew, you know, she knows that she's getting it. And so this is her Boxy. And this is speckled. It's not what I pictured, but it's beautiful and it's speckled and she likes it. So, Christmas present number 3. And I'm really happy with it, and I hope she loves it. I hope she loves it. I had to redo the neck a few times. The first time I did it too tight, and I don't know how that happened. So then I did it again, and it looked like it was going to be too loose. So now it's just right. Anyway, I'm really tickled with it. And in person, you can see the sparkles, you know, the sparkly yarn better, and because, I mean, you don't really notice the fact that some of the sweater doesn't have sparkles. So it actually reads like a sparkly sweater in person without those stripes. So I'm afraid you're not getting the the reality view of this sweater. But anyway, she loves it, and I'm really happy with the yarn, how it turned out, and I'm so excited. Anyway, so Christmas present number 3, FO, for tonight. I got my ironing board here because I've been sewing. So, FO number 4, Christmas present number 4. I guess that's my only other FO. Let's see, Sammi's Dress Boxy, my dyed yarn. This is my last FO. These are fingerless mitts that I made for Kristi's fiance, Rich. And you might recognize the yarn. This is the first yarn I dyed. This is how it knits up, and I'm so excited to make a sweater for myself out of it. I really love it. I really love it, and I hope he likes it. It's a pattern of my own devising, except I ripped off the thumb gusset from the Frankenfinger pattern, which is the fingerless gloves pattern, because it has actual fingers. That's the one Dennis wants me to make his fingerless gloves from. And that is by Elizabeth Green Musselman. And so I stole her thumb design for that. But otherwise, it's just 2x2 rib. And I made the top and the top of the thumbs 1x1 rib, just to, you know, change it up a little. But Rich has big hands, and I wanted to make sure that this was big enough, but not too big. And so I thought 2x2 rib was just a ticket. He's working at home these days because of COVID. And he works in the coldest room of their house, and he's on his computer all day. And he's in the middle of an MFA program, so he's on his computer all night writing. So his hands get cold. So I made him some fingerless mitts with my yarn that I dyed. That's kind of a nice mother-in-law thing, right? You know, I'm not his mother-in-law yet, but, you know, he's doomed. He's getting me. He's getting me. Anyway, I thought they turned out really well, and I hope he likes them. And this is my hand-dyed yarn, and this has gotten me very excited about making a sweater out of my yarn. 4 finished objects. So, whips. Well, I will bring you back to the saga of my Silberling, which is the sweater by, oops, dropping things. I don't know what I just dropped. I guess I'll figure it out. Probably under my chair. This is a sweater by Katrin Schubert, and this was a gift from the lovely Linda, I think, pretty sure. And this is what it looks like. So you saw it last time. I'm making it out of Outlaw Bohemian Sport. The color is leather. And this is 45% Polworth, 45% alpaca, and 10% possum. This is a New Zealand yarn. And in New Zealand, they have an invasive species of possum that has been introduced because it's lovely fur. But a lot of the birds in New Zealand are ground nesting birds because they didn't have these horrible predators for eggs and things. And so New Zealand's having a problem. Apparently the kiwi is endangered and it's wreaking havoc. So they put sort of a bounty on these possums and to encourage people to trap the possums. They, you know, no, I don't want to lie to you or anything. They kill the possums, but they use their fur in yarn. And this yarn is, let me tell you, some kind of lovely. And this is where what I am doing. And I have split for the sleeves, and now I am working down the body. I have not worked on this in quite a long time because I've been making Christmas presents. I didn't even remember that I had split for the sleeves. I'm very glad to see that. But last time I showed this to you in October, this has all these great holes. That's what the design is, these holes. And I had a row. The third row of holes was all screwed up, totally screwed it up. And I was like, what am I going to do? Because I had knit down to here. I was here before I noticed that these holes were wrong. So I thought maybe I could just do some stitching around the hole. It had kind of a yarn thread running through it. And, you know, so I was thinking about maybe trying to do something like, you know, like that. And I couldn't ignore them because they were pretty obvious. And this is like the whole design of the sweater. And so right after I podcasted, I ripped it back. So I was here. I ripped it back to here. My cute little cat. I ripped it back to here, and I re-knit it all the way down to here. Well, further, because I'm so excited. I had no idea I had gotten that far. I thought it was only a few inches, but I'm more than that. But I know I was here because this is where I started using fresh yarn again. That's how I could tell. So anyway, I'm very excited. I'm much further along than I thought I was. So I need to get back to this, and this will be a post-Christmas card project that I can work on. Oh, this would be a beautiful Christmas sweater. I mean, it doesn't scream Christmas. You can wear it all year, but put some Christmas jewelry on, which I don't own. But I could get Christmas ball. I have Christmas, have a gift from Verena. I didn't bring them. I don't have them with me. Cute little yarn skeins on Progress Keepers, and I put them on earring backs, and I'm gonna go get them. So these are from the lovely Verena, and there were green ones. She gave me 2 sets. The other set is all glittery and very festive and says 2021, so I'll be wearing those for New Year's Eve. So that looks like Christmas. Just all that. All you need is red. Anyway, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm really tickled that I'm this far. I had no idea. I'm that far under the sleeve. Great. All right, so I will be working on that once I finish my Christmas cards. The other thing I've started 2 other projects. Because I used up all my yarn for my blanket, I put in an order at Knit Picks for more Felici bear or stroll bear, which I'm not showing you because it's boring. But, you know, you go to Knit Picks and they say, oh, Felici's on sale. And I'm like, oh, Felici's on sale. I haven't knit socks in 2 years. I have like 4 socks on the go that I'm not knitting. And I haven't knit socks in 2 years, but don't you know, I bought 2 pairs of socks worth of Felici. Of course I did. And you know, if you've got Felici in your hands, you gotta make socks, right? So I'm making socks. And this is the equivalent of my Boxy. You know, it is sit and knit, sit and knit. I am doing a tube for quite a while, and then I'm going to go back and put in afterthought heels so I don't mess up my stripes, and then put in the toes. And I thought while I'm at it, while I'm putting in afterthought heels, I'll put in some, you know, I haven't done anything with the sock blanks that Simona cranked me ages ago. And so I will put in heels and toes for those 2 and cuffs on those. And so I will have 3 new pairs of socks because I wear them every day. Every day. I mean, the very rare occasion where I need an athletic sock, not being that athletic myself, very rare. So I wear my socks every day, and I need more socks because. So there, I've been making. So this is just a straight up, you know, normal thing. The only thing I do is when I change colors, the first row of a color change, I slip every other stitch. And it makes a nice little, just a little something something to make your stripes look a little something something. Easy peasy. But I was casting these on, and because they're self-striping, normally when I use a long tail cast on, and normally when I'm doing a long tail cast on, I pull from the outside and the inside of the ball, so I don't have to figure out how much yarn. It's one more end to weave in, that's all. And it's way worth it for me. So I don't have to think about it. But because it's self-striping, I didn't want to do that. So I calculated it, which I'm not good at. And so in the olden days, I used to make a 64 stitch sock. And they fit great. But I've lost weight since then. And so the socks that Simona cranked for me, she only had 60 stitches on her crank at the time. She now has 64 too. But she only had 60. I said, I'll do 60. We'll see how they do. And they seemed really fine for me. So I thought, I've gone down to a 60, whatever, you know. So I'm doing my long tail cast on, and I run out of yarn at 58. 58's fine. And I kept going. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, it was fine. You know, it was kind of stretched. It stretches a little on my leg, but so what? You want them to stay up anyway. But then I started thinking that you don't want them too stretched on your foot, because it feels like if your sock is too stretched on your foot that it's going to wear more, be harder on the sock. So at some point here, I added 2 stitches. So these are now 60, even though they started out at 58. So this is Felici fingering, and this is color Carrot Cake, which I think is pretty. And I was halfway up, the sock before I realized this color is not actually bare. I thought it was bare. It's not. It's a very, very light peachy color. And, it has a little bit of variegation. I don't know if you can even tell. I couldn't tell, and I was knitting it. And then I'm like, wait a minute, that's not bare, not cream colored. That's a little bit peachy. It's got, a little darker. You can't see it, but I was a little surprised, to tell you the truth. So I'm knitting socks for my Twitter Muff Knitting now, which is great. The other thing I'm knitting is the wonderful Linda gave me the Knit Vent, Helen Stewart's Knit Vent, as a gift, which was so sweet. And I had done Knit Vent a couple years ago, but I haven't been doing it the last few years. And I had a little bit of FOMO last year, fear of missing out, because she did such a wonderful shawl, cowl for Advent Minis, the Land of Swedes or something, I forget what it was called. And people were knitting, I'm like, oh, I should have done it. So this year, the wonderful Linda gifted it to me, which was so sweet. And so I'm knitting it for my Advent, with my Advents. And this is where I am. Now the blues in here, the blues are the hand-dyed yarns from Megan, from my Megan Advent. And the other yarns are from the Crafty Toads. And this was the yarn that I got in yesterday's Advent. And so I felt like it was getting a little too blue. I love the blues in the stripes, and I'm trying to keep all these blues. This blue is different than this blue. It reads kind of similar. They're sisters. They were all kind of sisters. They were the same color scheme, but they were different, clearly different yarns. And I decided I want to put those in all the stripe sections. So there, it's stripe section, 2 colors in a lace section, stripe section, and it goes all the way up, repeating that. So this is what it's going to look like. And I decided to keep the blues and all the stripes to kind of, I thought it might pull it together a little bit. But I was feeling it's a little, bluey. And so when I got this color from the Toads, I thought, okay, let's go for it. My problem is trying to figure out what color to go next. Here's my Advent stuff. So I just got a bigger bowl. I don't think it was big enough. Someone commented and said, this was the yarn today from Megan. Isn't that beautiful? She thought I should do this next. Sparkly. It's kind of a browny gray color. I don't know, that might work. And then it would go blue something stripes after that. Hard to know what to do. There's also, the problem is there's not too much that's going to pull the colors from this. The only other thing is this sort of very light, but it's got green in it. And I was thinking about that too. So we shall see. But this is my Helen Stewart Harton cowl for my Advent. And I'm knitting on it every day, but I haven't knit on it today. I am tempted to not knit it today and wait to see what my colors are tomorrow before committing, because I want to love the cowl when I'm done with it, and so far I love it, but I'm not sure where to go from here. 'Tis a dilemma. 'Tis a dilemma. So my other whip I cast on today. It's in my lovely bag. I have a million bags. So I'm going to transfer it, but I was downstairs when I started this. Dennis has also lost a lot of weight. He lost more than me. I hate it when he weighs less than I do. I'll be honest with you. But he's at his goal weight. And his winter coat jacket is kind of big for him, but he loves it and it's really warm. But now sort of the neck comes out a little too much, and we walk the dogs in our local park. And I have no idea what it is about the configuration around that park, but it is always windy. And so he's really frustrated because he can't find his scarf. He has a scarf that he likes and he can't find it. I didn't knit it. And I said, you know, I don't think I can knit a scarf as fine as the scarf that you lost. I mean, I could. I'm a knitter, but I don't want to. Scarves are boring and I don't want to knit a scarf. And he occasionally wears a cowl that I keep near the, you know, with our stuff, but he doesn't like to wear the cowl. When his hair gets long, it really bugs him. It like tickles his ears. He wears glasses and, you know, it drives him crazy. Well, the poor man hasn't had a haircut since COVID started. So he hasn't had a haircut since February. I'm telling you, a couple months and he's going to have a ponytail. I mean, his hair is really long. So he's very careful. You know, he like gets it just right so that it doesn't make him crazy. And so he wears hats, but that doesn't mess up around where it bugs him. But a cowl, when you pull it off, and it's a close to your neck cowl, when you pull it off, it messes his hair up. So he doesn't want to wear it. So I said, well, I could knit you a cowl that just has a button. And so you just bring it around your neck, so it's still close to your neck, keeping you warm, but you just button it and unbutton it, and voila. It's like a little tiny button scarf around your neck. And he thought that was a great idea. So, and he said, you know, I was saying, oh, I got some soft wool recently, and you know, maybe that work. He said, well, how about alpaca? Well, I have a ton of alpaca, you know that. I've had you know, like I don't know, 500, 800 grams of alpaca that I bought when we were in Peru on vacation. And I've made a sweater out of it. I made 2 shawls, but I still have a ton of it. And so, yeah, sure, of course, alpaca would be fine. So that was yesterday. That conversation happened yesterday. So today, I can't, oh, and I'm designing this cowl because, you know, whatever. It's just a rectangle, you know, it's just going to go like this. And it'll bunch up a little bit, but then he'll have enough to pull it over his mouth like this when it gets really cold. And so I'm knitting it this way. I'm garter stitching it. And so I'm over a third of the way done, and I cast it on this morning. And I cast it on twice because I cast it on for too many stitches and it was too big. This one might be too big too, to tell you the truth, but this is what he's getting. And so talk about easy knitting. So I'm just going to knit this until it's the right circumference around his neck. And then I'm going to decrease down to a tab and put a buttonhole in it and find a nice button, and he will have a cowl. So I started this today. I expect him to have a cowl by the weekend, if not before. So that's my last but not least. I gotta find a bag for that. Whip. Oh, that's a total lie. Where's my dragons? Oh, there it is. So on the only embroidery that I've done, I didn't work on Sammi's giraffe. The only embroidery I've done since I talked to you last was on my Dragons of Sumatra. And it's been quite a while since I worked on it, but this is my Dragons of Sumatra. This is all in the same color. It's a silk floss. And I started in the middle. So this is what I've been doing. And I'm almost done with that page. There are 9 pages of chart. I am working on page 5. And I am almost done with it. Isn't that pretty? Since I put the grid in, it has been a pleasure to stitch. Without the grid, it was really stressful. But with the grid, it's very easy to see when you're off. It's very easy to figure out where you're supposed to be. And I'm really, really, really happy with it. This is a pattern by Ink Circles, and it's called the Dragons of Sumatra. The floss I'm using, it's got one floss. It's by Gloriana. And it is the color poinsettia, which is very appropriate for the season. And that reminds me that I don't think I showed you. I think I even have this alpaca that I got in Peru for Dennis's thing is called Indicita DK, and I'm holding it double, and I'm knitting it on an 8, I think, so that it's nice and tight. Yeah, I'm knitting it on an 8. And it's DK held double. When I put this into Ravelry, when I got this yarn, the only other people that had this yarn got it in exactly the same place I got it, in the Indian market in Lima, which I thought was pretty hilarious. But I got a ton of it. It's a lovely yarn, and I made my Paloma out of that yarn, and I love it. And I've made 2 shawls, a shawl for my mother and a shawl for myself. So, and I got much more that I can knit. Although, to be honest, this is the color I made my Paloma. And now I'm starting to get worried that I might not have enough of it to finish Dennis's. He may get a Leslie, excuse me, a Leslie cowl where I blend, I fade in another color. I've got cream colored and stuff. So I've got things that'll go with it. Okay. Okie dokie karaoke. I think I'm up to goodies. I got a few goodies to talk about. I showed you my dyed yarn. My second bunch of Felici I got were these. And these are in the Punch Bug colorway, which is very bright. I pulled out the carrot cake first, and so I started that, but now I'm wishing I knit this, so I'm probably going to start another pair of socks pretty directly and knit this. And I have a ton of sock yarn over here. I mean, a ton. But I have very little self-striping yarn. I have maybe 2 other skeins of it, maybe 3. And I'm finding the self-striping to be quite compelling, as I'm sure many, many of you already know and understand and could have told me. So it's possible that I'm just going to go straight into this one. So I got that when I bought my Knit Picks order. Last month, I talked to you, in my perspective knitting, I showed you the pattern of the Higher Education by Amy Gunderson. Yeah, Amy Gunderson, which I really, really loved. And this is actually reverse stockinette, which is interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's got the, I don't know if you can see it, but you know how when you move, change colors, you know. Well, I'll do it her way once and see what I think. But I ordered the yarn for that from the Crafty Toads, and I only got two colors, a main color and then a striped color. Sorry about the crinkling. Close your ears. And my main color is Gingerbread House, which is one of their fairy tale colors, their Hansel and Gretel collection, which I fell in love with as soon as I started it. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, okay, fine, I have to have that. So I got Gingerbread House. So I got 3 gingerbread houses. And then my stripes are all going to be the same color, and they are all going to be Elderberry Fairy. Now, Elderberry Fairy is from their fairy collection. They have an autumn fairy collection. Elderberry Fairy. So those are the stripes that I'm going to have in my higher education cardigan. I'm very excited about this too. I'm excited about everything. I don't know if how I'm gonna COVID, lockdown. Things are getting worse. We're all supposed to stay home even more. I don't know how I can stay home more, but you know, what can I say? So Verena, when she sent me these wonderful stitch markers, said that she got one of these stitch markers. She had the Etsy shop send them straight to me. She's in Vienna. And she got Knit Crate, and one of these cute little skeins, stitch marker, or progress keepers, was in her Knit Crate. And it got me thinking about Knit Crate. Now, I used to have Yarn Box. For quite a few years, I did Yarn Box. I was a new knitter. I didn't know anything about yarn, and I thought, you know, Yarn Box was a good way to find out about different bases of yarn and different yarn dyers, and I was very happy. I enjoyed it a lot, but then it got carried away because then I was in regular, then I was in luxe, then I was in sock. It ended up being more, you know, and I ended up with a lot of yarn that I hadn't picked, and I hadn't picked the colors, and sometimes the colors were okay, sometimes maybe not so much. And I wasn't knitting with it as much as I should, so I stopped. But I didn't stop for a couple years. So I really liked Yarn Box. I love the idea of a subscription, just a surprise once a month, and especially now during COVID, a surprise once a month seemed like a lot of fun. So anyway, when she mentioned Knit Crate, I thought, well, let me check up Knit Crate. Now, I had joined Knit Crate back in the day, way back when, because I thought, oh, I like Yarn Box, let me see, you know. And I signed up for Knit Crate, and it was when Knit Crate was under a previous owner. And they charged you $5 to sign up for the, you know, the fee for entering your information into their computer. Who does that? So anyway, so I started off annoyed because of the $5, but I paid it. And I didn't like the first Knit Crate. It was a kit with a skein of Skeino yarn, which I liked, and a scarf and a pattern to make this scarf where you knit the scarf with holes in it, and then you wove this little skinny silk scarf around it. And I'm like, I'm never going to knit that, and I'm never going to wear that. Forget it. And I canceled my Knit Crate. But the way they bill you at the time, by the time you got your package, they had already billed you for the next month. So by the time I knew I didn't like my package and canceled, I had already paid for the next month. So they sent me the next month, and I liked the next month. It was, you know, it was fine. But by that time I had canceled it, and I said, forget it. So anyway, I decided to try Knit Crate again. So I got the November Knit Crate, which many of you might have gotten too. And I was very happy with it, to tell you the truth. It's only $25. I mean, Yarn Box was $40, and that was back in the day. So I thought $25 was pretty cheap. I got the eco package where they don't send you a bunch of paperwork. You have to go out on their website to get their pattern. But anyway, the yarn is supposed to make up into this cute hat or whatever. I have not actually gone out to their website to get the pattern, but this is what I got. So for $25, I got 200 grams of this worsted in these lovely colors. They had 3 color schemes. I just put surprise me because, you know, and I ended up seeing all of the different choices, and I do like this one the best, so that worked out great. This was what I was thinking of when I told Dennis I got some nice soft yarn, and I can make you a KAL, and then he suggested the alpaca, and I'm always happy to find something to do with my alpaca. So, but I do need hats, so I'll download the hat pattern for this and see if I like it. It looks like color work. Not necessarily my thing, although maybe I would try it again with a hat. I don't know. And oh, and the little tchotchke in it this time was a pen. Not as exciting as a progress keeper, but still $25. I thought that wasn't bad. So I can afford $25 a month for a little surprise and some yarn. And, you know. So my last but not least by any means goodie was I got a lovely package from Lisa in Ireland. She sent me some beautiful yarn from the Irish Artisan Yarn Company. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my gosh. I am so in love with this color. As soon as I opened it, I thought, oh my gosh, I want to make a sweater. I need to order more. I have enough yarn. Ooh. Ooh. I thought I want to do a one skein project. I don't want to match this with anything. This would go great with this sweater. So I need to find a lovely one skein shawl. That's the correct shape that I like, that I would wear. A one skein shawl is almost more like an accessory rather than a warmth thing. But with this sweater, I didn't even realize how well it goes, but I think it goes pretty well. It's hard to tell, but I think that would be beautiful. And some Celtic knot stitch markers. Aren't they beautiful? It was such a sweet gift. She is so lovely. And the colorway is Dublin, where she lives. So anyway, that was such a sweet thing to do. And I love this yarn, and I am, yeah. I'm going to go make, at one point, make a shawl that will go very well with my sweater. But I love this yarn. So I might have forgotten something. I don't know. It's been a long time since I podcast, and I know I've been talking for quite a while, even though I stopped the podcast, so I don't know how long I've been talking. I've been talking for 30 minutes since I got up to get my earrings. I can tell you that. So anyway, I don't have anything else on my page, so I guess I can stop talking now and let you go. It is Wednesday, December 9th, but it's in the evening, and Dennis is on his computer, and I use his computer to edit my podcast, so I will not be editing my podcast tonight. So it will be up on the 10th, but you already know that. So I want to wish you happiness of this season. I want to wish you a happy Hanukkah, which is coming up very shortly. And please take good care of yourselves. Please, please, please. Wear your masks, stay safe. Keep your contacts to a minimum. At least in the United States, we're going crazy here. It's gone, you know, things are bad. But other places in the Northern Hemisphere are going into lockdown again. The Southern Hemisphere seems to be doing pretty well, so that's great. I don't know how South America's doing, but Australia and New Zealand, Africa are all doing pretty well. But up here in the north with us, come, you know, winter, we are doing terrible. So I hope you're taking good care of yourself. I hope you're well. And I hope you have lots of time to do the crafting that will bring you joy. And I will try to podcast pretty close after the new year. I will not be podcasting again this year, but I will be drawing for the Stash Mail prizes, and so I will see you in 2021, and let's hope it's a much more cheerful and healthy year than we've had. So anyway, bye everybody. Take good care of yourselves.